Hi, my name is John, and this is Business Update. In this week's episode, we'll be talking about the recent proposal from the Department of Labor in the United States regarding the gig workers or the gig economy in terms of if you're working for, let's say, Uber or DoorDash. Obviously, the gig economy wherein individuals are able to find part-time work in a sense to provide delivery services, or in this case, driving services to the general public. And obviously, companies such as Uber, DoorDash, or even Grab has benefited from this tremendously by creating a business model wherein they save a ton of cost by only paying them a fee or a commission in terms of for every transaction that they make. And obviously, it has benefited them tremendously, a $1 billion company. But obviously, there's a downside to those things. Obviously, in terms of employees' rights and revenue that they generate is a measly, to be able to survive. And obviously, the flexibility of the nature of the work is always critical in terms of the relationship between the worker and the company here. And it has been discussed in the past regarding that the employees, if you are working for a certain period, should they still be considered as a temporary employee, or should they be converted into a full-time employee wherein those employees benefit for in terms of higher salary, health benefits, and other bonuses, and so forth. And obviously, the companies, as such as mentioned earlier, are trying to stop that from happening because it would impact their business model and their revenue generation. And obviously, it only makes sense up to a certain point, because the fact that you've already grown to this point, you know not all employees are striving to be full-time employees, but they should be given an option here. And I think what the Department of Labor is offering should have been laid in, or has been discussed, or should be in the pipeline, and has been enacted so that employees such as gig employees or workers are protected here. Because yes, if I were to work as a gig employee for at the beginning, if it's, let's say, a few months here just to earn an extra cash, but if I'm working, several weeks, months, and then beyond 6 months, then to protect the interest of the employee, they should be taken care of here, and no amount of justification from those companies would merit any sense. And obviously, in terms of business, obviously it's generating them hundreds or even billions of dollars that they reap from the hard work of those employees here. And I think I mentioned this already before, that being able to what do you call this? Being able to hire employees that are temporary, which is fine, so you continue with your business model, but you also have to hire full-time employees that meet certain requirements here. And if they're doing a tremendous job, they provide tremendous service, reviews from your customers, and you can review them internally within the company if they're up to par to the certain standards that the company is adhering to, then they should be rewarded here. And obviously, just like with any companies, obviously the cost will increase, but obviously you have to be able to manage those two things, because just like in any industries, there are employees that are on a contractual basis or temporary basis, and on another hand, you have to hire full-time basis, because obviously at the end of the day, if your employees, the frontliners that meets your end consumers or main customers, and if they provide a terrible service, it would always look bad on the company and on the top management, who are trying to skimp on certain benefits, and yet they reap the benefits of having a high salary as an executive or administration in those companies here. So obviously, the proposal here is to benefit the employees here, the gig workers as mentioned, but obviously the those companies, the ride-hailing companies and whatnot, is not for it. The question here is, uh, who will protect the interest of the individual, since the major companies are using this loophole in a sense to generate a substantial revenue here. And obviously the government has to step in some shape or form or capacity, unless the gig workers are able to unionize, which is another issue I think many companies, private companies, don't want dealing with here. And obviously, until they find, until there's a law enacted that protects the interests of the employees, the issue between the company and the employees will always persist. And obviously, you will hear different reports in terms of negative feedback, negative of not being taken care of by the companies and so forth. And yet, many companies like as mentioned here, whether it's DoorDash or Uber, are generating significant growth in terms of profit and revenue here on a monthly, quarterly, or even in a yearly basis here, despite the pandemic. Think about that. And obviously, I think it would behoove them, it would make sense that taking care of your employees obviously will necessitate better service, will necessitate better customer relationship, would necessitate better demand or higher demand on your products and services here, which I think would benefit them in the long run. I could be wrong here, but I think, pushing against your employees, which you are so reliant here, it's not as if you don't have any more gig employees there, it's as if the administrators or the top management could simply just take over and do the jobs those employees are doing here in the first place. But I could be wrong, but it would be nearly impossible or difficult for them to replicate what those frontliners are doing here. And it's those tasks are not easy, and you have to deal with people. The customer relationship that you build, and I think they should be rewarded if they're doing a tremendous job here in any industry at that fact, actually. But we'll stay tuned to this progression or the goings on in this situation here. Hopefully, it can be rectified here, and I think the company should be at the forefront here in terms of advocating for employees, not just for the stakeholders or for the business per se here. But we'll wait and see here. Anyway, that's about it for today. Come back again on Wednesday for more business update. As always, continue supporting the channel. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And hopefully we can get closer to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting closer. Hopefully we can exceed that by end of the year. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.